I'm next.
What do you mean he's nobody?
Okay, ladies.
Everyone is somebody.
Okay.
That brings us to your letter, Madam Vice President.
This letter was received in the City Council office on June 7th, and so I received it today. And it reads, to the 3 council members they forgot to put, the one that should be gone, Eric Mays, point of order. I was sorry to see the ad in Sunday, May 26, 19, about the recall of 3 council members. I was born and raised in Flint since 1941 till 2009, when we moved to Arizona for 5 years, then came back to Michigan. Sorry to see what has happened to my birth city. I am 77 years old. I have been to several city council meetings and was disgusted how Eric Mays was able to say anything and everything, but when one of you tried, he would yell, point of order, ridiculous. Why can he say all these things and he...
Point of information.
What's your point?
What is she reading this letter for?
Well, I didn't know. She asked if that letter, if she could read that letter.
Point of information. How did she identify the letter when she asked?
She did. She could read it.
Okay.
Well, let
her finish and then.
May I finish, please? She asked if she could read a letter from a constituent.
From a constituent. Okay. When she finished, I'll respond. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Why can he say all these things and he isn't in that ward? I have sat through several council meetings, even though I no longer live in Flint, thank God, because you are letting him get away with anything and everything. I guess it's what they say. It's not what you know, but who and color. I am going to be there to see him walk away with either a slap on the wrist or my guess is nothing. Drunk driving, 0. More than one time. We read in the Flint Journal. I talked to him personally about a problem 2 years ago.
Hold on. What's your point of information?
That's a personal attack, and that's blatant disrespect. That shouldn't be read, Mr. President, on record. That's out of order. That's flat out out of order.
Can we do this then? Since it's causing so much confusion, can we read it?
We're almost done.
Yeah. Point of order, Mr.
President.
Point of order.
What's your point of order?
If she know our rules say no personal attacks and she done pulled out a letter as a vehicle to make personal attacks on me, ain't been no drunk driving. So I would say that we should move on and she can stop reading that. We didn't even know what she was going to do.
So we can get to the business.
Yeah, I'm moving that we stop this now. She don't need to finish.
We're
done.
Hold on.
Mr. President, we voted
If you
on
rule,
it,
she
and I'm
can
asking
keep
to
reading that.
finish.
Listen. Don't you know where you ask if we could do, on the council, you ask if we could do a special order right after the second reading?
Mr. President, I'm almost done.
Mr. President,
I'm
listen
listening
to
to
me.
you, Mr. President.
Can we please do that? Because this is
Mr.
starting
President.
something. Can we please?
Mr. President,
I'm talking to you.
we voted on it,
I understand.
and it's almost done. There's no, I didn't.
I'm just asking, would you do that?
It's not a personal attack, Mr. President. It's in the news.
So you're not willing to do that?
No, I want to finish. We voted on it. Didn't think I would be just like hearing his voice. He
Mr.
likes
President.
bringing up the
let her
fact
finish.
he worked at General Motors. Big deal. So did my dad and my husband. Whoopee.
right.
He thinks he is so important to GM. Why didn't he stop then or at least try? Flint
wrong.
is a ghost town, nothing like when we grew up. We had people in office that tried to do their best, not anymore. That's all of us, Mr. President. But
President.
thank you for letting me read it.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Okay.
I want to read Papa's letters next week to Kate Fields on record.
Hold
I
on.
want to read the letter I'm going to get from Mr. President. Can we respond to what this special order or whatever it was?
No, let's not respond.
No, we do. If it's about you, you don't respond. If it's about me, I'm going to respond if I'm allowed.
Then let me do it this way. Councilman Mays, then let me do this. If you want the floor, how much time do you need for the floor?
Couple minutes, if not, if
Proceed.
that.
Point
Mr.
of order,
President.
Mr. President.
What's your point?
Mr. President, we
Yes.
voted on agenda changes.
We voted on
You
agenda changes.
cannot change now. There is no provision for what he's asking for right now. We
Mr.
voted.
President,
Hold on. Go ahead, finish.
We voted, and we didn't
We
vote
did
for
vote to
him
add that in there. We voted to put the letter that you received from a constituent. We did.
And
That was the
so-
first thing.
So, but my point of order is, there is no provisions for him. He should be willing to wait until his final comments. There is no added spot for him. We voted on it, and we need to stick with what we agreed to as the agenda change.
Mr.
I want you to
President.
rule
Councilman
on
May.
my point of order.
I think you're right. I absolutely,
Mr.
that's why I was
President.
asking you that.
And
Yes, sir.
then, whether y'all end up right or wrong, I'll appeal. Ain't
Yes.
nothing come across this agenda or this meeting that we can't get the flow on. She want to say and make personal attacks and read a letter.
Point of
that she didn't-
information.
There she go.
What's your-
Is he
what's your point?
appealing, Mr. President?
Yes, are you appealing?
No, I asked for the floor and you recognized me. She's out of order.
No, but she rose to say that we're out of order.
That's correct.
for doing that, Councilman
That's
Mays.
correct.
And she's correct. Because,
Okay, I'll appeal the ruling
there's
of
an
the
appeal there's an appeal of the ruling of the chair. Is there
I'm
support
on
for that?
second it for the second time.
Okay, Councilman, there's an appeal, and it's been seconded by Councilman Davis. And the appeal is, when we asked for agenda changes and additions, Mrs. Galloway, Councilwoman Galloway asked to read a letter. Councilman Mays asked for Mr. Benzick. I wanted Mr. Goddard to do that. That is the order of which was supposed to happen. As Ms. Galloway read her letter, it did have some things in there that was distasteful to Councilman Mays, and he wanted to respond. Mrs. Galloway said there is no provisions for that, and we would be setting a precedent for letting folks speak when we have decided how we're going to do our changes and/or additions, and she was correct.
Mr. President, let me show you why I disagreed with you in appeal.
Okay.
Now, I've got a agenda item change with Rob Benzick on restoration. That would mean I'm the only one can say something to Rob and nobody else could. We've not set that precedent. Whenever somebody make a change or agenda change, it don't take away our right to respond. What Ms. Galloway is talking about is ridiculous. The precedent has already been set. We've had a many of agenda changes, and it didn't limit the person who could speak on that subject matter to the person who requested the agenda change. If that's the case, then I'm going to be the only one in the next agenda change talking to Rob Benzick about restoration. So I'm urging you, Mr. President, to vote against your own ruling. Everybody sitting up here should vote against it, because if Ms. Galloway's logic is right, that we can't respond to her agenda change, I sure don't want her or no other council people responding to mine when we go next to restoration. I'll be voting no against your logic and ruling that she can make an agenda change and be the only one to speak on it. That precedent has already been set. We don't do that.
Gotcha.
Thank you. I don't understand why that letter was read. As much as I agree with it, I don't understand it. I mean, I wouldn't guess like it if there was a letter read about me randomly in a meeting. I know that Ms. Galloway is upset about her recall, and she has every reason to be. Listen, you just read a letter disparaging.
Hold on. What's your point of information?
Does Ms. Worthing know how I feel about anything?
Okay.
Mr. President.
Proceed, Ms. Worthing.
Okay, I realize it came from a constituent. I'm just wondering why it had to be read and disrupt our meeting today. But I do want to point out that I called Zero Mass a scam And I was told, oh, don't say that, Miss Worthing. You're not allowed to do that. And then you just read a whole letter saying awful things about someone else. Just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Then, Ms. Galloway, it's your turn.
First of all, it was like a constituent coming up here. The letter was sent to me, first time seeing it before here. And so the person was 77. I asked Mr. President, I didn't read all of it, right? And so just for the record, this has nothing to do with how Councilwoman Galloway feels about a recall. The recall is the right that a person has. It's a recall for me being absent from my seat. The other thing is, I didn't think that it was a personal attack. This letter said something that was in the news. This isn't Councilwoman Galloway's feelings. This is a constituent that sent it to me. You can see it is stamped. There's no ulterior motive whatsoever. The other thing I want to say, Mr. President, is my asking to read this letter is not a special order. A special order is an opportunity to discuss something under personal orders. And so under special orders, every person gets to say something. And so I asked to read this letter before the council had comments, because I thought that it would be a part of
Point of information. Mr. President, that was before the council knew the content of that information she was spreading over these airways.
In my opinion, would have been read at the wrong time. If any letter were to be read, I understand there was an individual who maybe would not have been allowed to come down to these meetings, but if it would have been read, it should have been read right after public comments so that council could have the opportunity to respond to the letter, because I would have took it as a resident speaking that just couldn't be here today. And with the First Amendment rights, everybody has the right to say what they should say. However, it should have been read at that earlier point in time. So Mr. Mays could have the opportunity to respond. So I think since it was read at a different time, I would agree that he should have the response to respond, because I wouldn't want something read about me and then not responded to. So.
Hold on. Then it's
She repeatedly keep busting in and interrupting and talking across the room, Mr. President, and I'm asking you for the second time, warn her, because without a warning, I done had to get up and remove myself.
Point of information.
Can you finish his?
If she really want to be orderly, she'll quit doing that repeatedly, just talking out across the room. She's starting to act like another person I know, ain't she? But that person I know gets warned repeatedly and been removed. She's not above that.
Mr. Winfrey Carter.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm confused. First, I don't understand what this letter has to do with anything. I thought it was very distasteful.
Point of order, Mr. President. Why is she so disrespectful over there?
And I thought it was very distasteful. And it does not show, for our vice president to sit here and read a letter, to me it doesn't show leadership. A letter that I think she probably could have shared with Mr. Mays outside of this meeting. This is a council meeting. I'm so sick and tired of all this foolishness. You know, I don't even understand why the letter was read.
Councilman Mays, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you to the council. I mean, from now on, we might want to check to see what the letter or letters is about. We trusted a council person to do something that I thought might be orderly. But that was a personal attack. It was a letter that she knew the contents of, and she knew exactly what she was doing. And I don't think that that's proper, and it causes confusion. Do you know I can ask people to write letters and come and read them every day about Ms. Galloway or anybody else on this council? We don't know if that letter was manufactured, worked on together, but it sure was a dirty, nasty letter that could have been kept privately. If they sent it to her, then you read it if that's one of your constituents or somebody you know. Do you know how easy it is to get folks in my ward or across this city to write a nasty letter about you, then I come use myself as a vehicle to read them repeatedly? That's how I operate. When council people go low, I go lower. And so one letter in some cases deserves 20 letters from now to November. That was a dirty, low-down thing, and it wasn't even factual. I've never been charged or dealt with drunk more than one time. Don't hardly drink. So, Ms. Galloway, whatever you chose to read in order to try to get me, you might have done got yourself. It shows your character. It shows how you operate in a public arena. What was so important about that? And then our rules said council people don't participate in public speaking. So to center it around public speaking, if I want to say something, I just go get a letter from my resident and read it during public speaking. I have 12 of them. It's all in violation of every spirit of the rule that I look at. And I appreciate this council for giving me the opportunity to respond in a dignified way without bashing the writer of the letter, without really bashing Ms. Galloway. This sits with Ms. Galloway. If that's the way council want to roll, let's roll. I don't blame the council. They didn't know the contents. I even heard what Ms. Worthing said. I heard what Mr. Guerra said. I heard what Mr. Davis said, what Ms. Winfrey Carter said. This is on Ms. Galloway, and it ain't nothing new. Ms. Galloway, your politics is whack. Thank you.
Mr. President, Mr. President,
Councilman.
that doesn't say that that came from a person in my ward. And I am a person of integrity. That came from the clerk in our office. And it is disappointing that Mr. Mays would even insinuate.
Point of information.
What's the point?
She ain't saying the clerk wrote that in our office, is she?
No, I said
Oh,
it came from, it is stamped by our office. And so for Mr. Mays to make an accusation that I would dare coach some 77-year-old person to write anything about him is disheartening, and to even attack my character. Come on, Eric, you've been serving with me for 6 years. You know that I'm not going to get no letter
Point of
from nobody.
information.
What's your point?
Does she know I prefer Councilman Mays as my title? Not Eric. I prefer Councilman or Mr. Mays when we're sitting up here, not Eric.
All right.
Since referred to me as Mr. Mays or Councilman, does she know I prefer that and it's legal?
Thank you, sir. This brings us to
Takers we got.
Mr.
We'll
Mays,
see if they can come
Mr.
back.
Mays, Mr. Mays, that's a, just so you know.
May I finish?
Mr. Mays, just so you know, Monday is a holiday. It's the observance of Juneteenth.
I came here, I don't even know what you said. You gave me the floor. I was leading into my questions. That he exited stage right. You remember Snagglepuss now on the cartoon, exit stage right? There they go. In a special order, we only get 5 minutes.
That's not true. That's not true,
Let
Mr.
me
Mays.
finish. It is true.
That is not true, Mr.
For
Mays.
me, it's true. And the way you interrupt me is true. But if you want to argue, you can get it. I'm the one. Don't tell me what's true and what's false. It's a lie. So you get my attention every day of the week trying to fool the public, Mr. Murphy. And I'm going to address it. Because I don't like lies from you, the mayor, and nobody else sitting next to me. That's how I roll. Now I'll wrap up and don't even get the question answered with all these lying distractions from a person sitting over from me talking about the work we done did, and he'd been here in the infant stages of his career of handful of months. And we done had knockdown drag-outs with emergency managers dealing with millions. That's a fool to me. That's my opinion for somebody to say that, and for you to egg your bone, Pastor Monica. And I'm waiting on Mr. Edwards. Hell, he's sitting a mile away. I called him up. You don't have to apologize. I'm wading through this foolishness. Somebody, don't worry about it, Mr. Edwards. The boats is there. There go the bill. I'm going to play by the game. But you let this foolishness come at me again talking about what they done got done when I ain't here. And he been here 8 months, and I've been here 10 years.
Thank you, Mr. Mays.
That's a foolishness in my opinion.
I call the question.
Just lying like the mayor.
It's been called the
Or trying
question.
to fool people.
Mr. Griggs, you need to learn to keep your perverted comments to yourself. It's not a good representation of the city. President Galloway, Lucille Ball continuously made it a point to interrupt the meeting the entire night. Madam Chair, point of order. Mr. Mays is right. She pulled a gangsta move, just as Mayor Neely told her to. But I'll tell you what.
Point of order?
Mr. Flint, but that ain't.
What's your point of order? Mr. Larry, please, Mr.
To stay here with only 5 of us and go through this meeting. And I believe Councilman Jerry Winfrey Carter said she was going to be here for 2 hours.
Mr. Murphy, you waste a lot of time on what you believe versus what I believe. Point of order, Mr. Murphy, did we not listen to you uninterrupted? Let me speak. You don't have the floor.
Point of information.
What's your point of information?
My opinion does not have nothing to do with your ideology of me wasting
That's
time.
not a question, is it? That's a statement. What is your question or point of information?
I just made my opinion as a council person, and you just responded by, I'm wasting time. That's your opinion, and as a president, you should not be reflecting your opinion on what you think about me. That's your personal opinion. Now, when you were sitting here talking, I not one time told you was wasting time. That's
Mr. Murphy, I'm going to give you your first warning. That's not a point of information. That's a statement. That's your first warning.
I appeal your decision.
There's an appeal of the decision of the chair. Is there a second? There's an appeal of the decision of the chair. Is there a second? It looked like that appeal dies for a lack of a second. That wasn't a quick inquiry to the speaker.
I'm going to excuse myself from
We
this.
used to it. We used to that attendance of Pastor Gilbert being a major problem, and I want the Ethics and Accountability Board to hold these new council people who've been here for 3, 4, 5 months accountable, and I can't wait till we get to attendance. The business of the city of Flint is in disarray with these new council folks. Attendance is egregious. And Ms. Herkenroder, you up and out your seat too. So let me call that Ms. You ain't sharing. Ms. Herkenroder, that's my job to call a lost quorum, and it's your job to be here. And so that's chaos. We can post meetings and
Lord, we pray for this council. We pray for the mayor of this city. We pray for the residents of this city, that we continue coming together as one, unifying for the cause that Flint will be a better city. Give us that strength that we need, Lord.
We actually had lawyers from the Michigan Municipal League. We brought them in to train us so that we can learn how to do our jobs. Now, in my humble opinion, I really don't think I need those folks to come tell me how I should act and how I should treat my colleagues, but maybe some folks need that. And if they do, then I'm willing to sit through it as well. So what we wanted to do, Vina, you push that thing up faster when it comes to me. I noticed that, don't you?
Ms. Galloway, is there a second? Been properly second by Mr. Briggs. Is there any discussion?
Real quick, if I vote no, it fails because we only got 4.
Correct.
We need every single 5 vote to move it to council.
Correct.
I'm gonna vote to move it.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
You can't do both votes. Tradition escalation.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Okay, because,
What do you mean he's nobody?
okay, ladies.
Everyone is somebody.
Okay. I'm gonna rule you ladies. I'm giving you ladies a warning. I'm giving you ladies a warning. So, we're going to get back, what is your point of order?
Madam Chair, we gotta stop this. She's sitting here saying he's a nobody.
That's not what I said.
Yes, you did. I heard you.
Okay, but ladies, okay.
We're gonna stop that. We're not gonna even deal with that on this council.
Okay.
What do you mean he's a nobody?
If she's having a hard time, she can leave.
No, you need to leave. It sounds like you
We got
I'm gonna sit right here, because I'm gonna shut some stuff down. Right.
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
I'm tired of it.
I'm gonna
I'm
rule
tired
you.
of the stereotypes.
You have gotten one warning. If it goes any further, Ms. Winfrey Carter and Ms. Worthing, that is your last warning. After this, I am going to ask Officer Metcalf to remove you from this meeting. We are not going to mock each other. We can be civil and get our work done. Mr. Guerra, do you have any more questions?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Griggs.
Okay, so back to
Reverse it like somebody threatening you. I will cuss you today, tomorrow, the next day when you try to interrupt me wrongfully and don't say point of information and point of order and then gonna articulate that we being rude to department heads and I'm sitting right here by you, then advocated for you, and you interrupting me wrongfully and think ain't nobody gonna get mad because in your zeal, you trying to support the mayor. You trying to support the mayor.
Madam Chair.
Level of calls, S1 license, F1 license, the need, whatever. That's my position. I will not be put in a compromised position by a department head with this superior branch of government telling me when and when they will and will not show up. I think, as the young folks say, you got that a little twisted, in my opinion. Well, I didn't ask a question. I'm making a statement.
Well, I got some things I'm going to say. So
I'll let you and your lawyer talk. I didn't ask a question. I'm making a statement. Is it something you want to
make
say?
a statement.
When I finish, you're going to make a statement. And if you try to interrupt me like my colleague did, just like him or you, if it ain't proper, that's going to be cause. My position is this, Mr. Bensley. And me and Miss Winfrey Carter and Miss Burns was sitting here. I don't think you was here. Miss Worthing wasn't here. Piper ain't here now. This council has a problem with absenteeism and breaking quorum-isms. It's a lot of isms and taking care of the city business-ism. And when you ain't here, ism, Ms. Liddell Lewis, don't come chastising me in a public arena because I'm talking about the isms. The isms are germane. If them your colleagues who voted for you to sit up in that chair, don't protect them because of the isms. Absenteeism is punishable under the council rules. It's Jermaine, Tito, Jackie, and Marlon.